Hello everyone, and welcome back to your monthly disaster save video. Entirely unplanned, but for some reason that's how it's turned out. Today we're going to be saving this Gothic invasion campaign as Theodoro. The original player said that they just barely managed to grab the achievement, but the country is in a really bad shape. They say they hope it's savable, but, well, we'll just have to see, won't we? Before we get started, if you want to try and have your save game looked at, there are no guarantees, but going into the description, we'll find you the instructions to have it submitted and added to my massive queue of save games. Now, it already looks pretty bad, but let's see what we have to deal with here. You are losing 60 ducats a month with 4,000 in loans. It seems like those loans are not the good kinds of loans, so we're gonna have to deal with that first and foremost. And you have 7% interest on those loans. Oh, good God. Okay, well, you also have some pretty bad stability. War exhaustion's pretty bad as well. Who did you just fight, actually? It's not super easy to tell, but I'm going to assume it was this alliance over here. And the second thing to notice is this massive coalition. I don't have words for this. I truly have no idea what to say. How did you do this? Why would you do this? Right. Well, that's a problem. Anyway, let's reduce a bit of war exhaustion, and the stability cost is absolutely horrendous. Your religious unity is really bad, and I have no idea why actually. Let's find out. This religious map mode has put my brain cells on life support. What am I looking at? So the majority of your country is not your main religion, and you have taken neither religious ideas or humanist ideas. That is a unique combination of unrest. Plus -3 stability, I'm surprised you actually still have a country. Right, so the first thing to do here would probably be to not be Catholic. The main reason for that is that the Pope absolutely despises your guts. Now, there's a chance you could decide to just get papal influence through converting, but in this case, it's probably better off for your religious unity and your short-term survival to not be Catholic at all. I would probably prefer Protestant, but if I'm going to be frank, I don't think we can do that either. We also have internal conflicts, naturally, since we have... oh my god. Yeah, that stability's pretty bad, and we need at least 0 stability to convert in the first place. Okay. Well, you're spending way too much money, but if I'm going to be spending admin points on anything other than stability, we're going to grab religious ideas. I also really want a stability guy here, plus I don't think you can afford this level 3 advisor. And the diplomatic reputation guy can be swapped out for the half-cost trade efficiency, and yeah, I'm just gonna fire these guys real quick. Right, you're paying a lot of interest. Let's get rid of a few of these loans. To put it lightly, we're pretty dead here. I really have no idea if we can even fight a war to begin with. Like, we have virtually no money. Everything's a problem. I'm really gonna need to think about this. Okay, you swapped your cavalry down to the lowest cavalry, which makes sense because you're not using cavalry, except you are. Okay, if you're still using cavalry, which I guess you can for a few years, we're gonna go ahead and swap those. Morale pips are still slightly better, so we're taking these ones. You have so much decor. Oh man. Okay, let's take this military tech as well. Better cannons, better than nothing, and yeah, this should be a lot of fun. Well, you're allied with the Ottomans in Morocco. That's not terrible. Transoxiana is surprisingly good, so let's grab an alliance there as well. I'm very much questioning if this run's going to work or not. So many things to consider. Well, most of your states aren't actual states, so unstating them is really not that bad. We'll turn this off, and I need to figure out a way to not die. Another thing, probably going to remove oversight by the clergy. Instead, I'm going to give you enforced unity of faith. Your forts are incredibly expensive. Oh boy. Not much we can do about that for now, though. Oh, and you don't have crown land, I just realized. Right, so I'd give it about maybe, 2 months? Yeah, 2 months before we're declared on. Well, at least we can grab this stability cost guy, slap that on, boost the stability, and the religious unity actually went down even further because the calculations from his previous conquests weren't actually done yet. There is really only one way that I can think of us surviving this, and that is giving away everything in the coalition war. As much as possible, just give them whatever they want. Honestly, you're not even making money off of half your land, so half of it really doesn't even matter. You went Catholic, but you never embraced the Counter-Reformation? Seriously? Well, it doesn't matter now because we're not going to go Counter-Reformation, but for future reference, this is a really important decision. If you're deciding to stay Catholic and this is what your land looks like, please make sure to take it. Also, another fun little tip, if you convert these Reformation centers, they disappear. So you might have converted a lot of this stuff already, but if you didn't convert the centers, they're just going to be flipped back, like this province. Now, it's going to sound a little bit ridiculous, but I'm going to unstate a few of your states and adopt Rhenish culture. Once we have more diplomatic power, I'm going to swap things over to Rhenish. For anyone else doing the Gothic invasion achievement, I would very much recommend swapping to Germanic culture or doing culture conversions. There are too many culture groups in here for you to accept them all, and since you need to have them anyway, I would recommend you just swap culture groups. The relative strength of the coalition is 236. At this point, I am beyond shocked that we haven't been declared on yet. Let's also take a look at your trade here. Right. You have 2 merchants, and I can see you're doing the best you can with them. However, the node you're collecting in is absolutely dominated by Britain. Your other node, dominated by Denmark. You're making 20 ducats when you should probably be able to make like 50. That's okay. You also haven't taken trade ideas, which isn't terrible, especially because it's the first 4 idea groups here. But for future reference, if you're going to play in an area where you're not going to have trade companies and you're not colonizing, the number of merchants you have is going to need to be supplemented by your trade ideas. For instance, you kind of need this guy here because if you don't, then France is going to steal a lot of your trade. Same thing over here, if you don't steer in Lubeck, then, well, no one's gonna steer through Lubeck, so it'll just go straight to Denmark. And over here in Wien, you're also losing a ridiculous amount of money. But we can deal with that later. So, if we want to swap to Rhenish culture, which is currently almost a quarter of our current stated development, what we can do is take a look at some of the states you've created so far. All of these here, in the sort of striped pattern, are states which don't actually have cores in them, which means they're taking up a little bit of your governing capacity, and so it doesn't really matter if we unstate them. For instance, nothing here has had any admin spent on it, so we can just remove that state, and that will help contribute to the amount of Rhenish we have. We can do the same over here, which doesn't have any Rhenish culture, and I'll keep doing that until we actually can swap. Alright, let's swap over. Now we are a cultural hegemony of German culture, which means we accept all of the cultures here, and we can go ahead and start restating things. I also noticed you have a couple of free states down here that you haven't actually stated, because this used to belong to your subject. Alright, look at that. Everything's been half stated, and now you have a lot more money. If the game's willing to give me an extra year here, I'm gonna try and make sure I can swap your religion as well. Okay, we could always use a little bit more money, so I'm going to sell some titles, even though I really don't want to. And I'm gonna see some land. Now, just gonna assume here, but I don't think you built buildings, did you? Oh, never mind. No, you have built a lot of buildings. Good, good. What we could probably use is a couple of courthouses, but let's not worry about that for now. Alright, global trade. That spawned in Britain, as we could expect. And there it is. Yep. That's exactly what I was expecting. I put a bunch of spies everywhere so I would know when it was going to happen, but I was hoping I would be afforded another year. Okay, for now, let's keep everything up. The Ottomans want me to fight Herzegovina. Sure. That's it? Really? Okay. So, is there gonna be a war, or like, was that just a joke? Are we cool now? Are we friends? Well, maybe friends is exaggerating. Well, that war is theoretically coming soon, so I think what I'm going to do for now is probably swap over to Reformed. You know, I don't really like Reformed, but for the sake of saving this run, I think it's really our only option. Wait, you don't lose stability? Okay, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Okay, Defender of the Faith immediately. Let's grab an extra missionary. Let's go through all of our fancy buttons, and let's start converting. The unrest is barely where it needs to be to get out of internal conflicts. Should probably also get rid of this one in Berlin. Yeah, let's do that real quick. While I'm at it, let's also enforce unity. Make sure to target this province. Okay, and we've avoided the other disaster too. Now, surprisingly, still no war. I don't know what happened, I don't know why we're still alive. I'm just going to roll with it. So we get a whole lot of fervor. I think the first thing we're going to do with that is probably turn on this. You know what? If I'm going to get attacked, it does not matter if I have the forts up. I might as well make some money. I think your force limit is good enough. You're ahead of time on Miltech. I guess maybe I could develop something. You know what? You have a lot of really good debasing you could do. Yeah, I'm gonna steal your money. Let's develop a little bit militarily there, and we'll make that a level 3 port actually. Alright, beautiful. Now you're going to get some global trade. Might as well slap a castle on that as well. Now we're able to make you at least a little bit more money. Oh yay, it's my favorite event. Right, well, we can't exactly afford to lose that admin power. It's getting a little suspicious. Why hasn't anyone declared war yet? It's worrying me. Something's not right here. Anyways, stability has been fixed for the most part, so we can go back to this guy. After all, we do have a little bit of inflation. Apparently from a little bit of gold. I think that's the one in Tyrol. I think it's actually a very good investment to dump a couple of points into that. Okay, it's a mystery. That's it. I really just have no idea. Maybe the Ottomans and Morocco together sort of makes them not want to kill me? I can imagine it's a possibility. Not a very high possibility. Well, here, let's see if I can get Sweden out of this actually. Now this run has been pretty weird. Not exactly sure how I'm supposed to react to this. I was fully expecting a war, because when someone declares war on you as a coalition, you can sort of cede a whole lot of war score worth of provinces and other things, and that actually decreases your aggressive expansion. So I was hoping to get declared on and then release a whole bunch of stuff to reduce that aggressive expansion, and then maybe through some method grab it back. However, we haven't even had the war. So now we're just sitting here converting things, going through technology. The economy's looking great, that's for sure. Never been better, literally. But I have to admit, I'm a little bit confused. Well, let's sell some more titles and get some land back. We can use those titles to pay off all the loans, and the rest of that money is going to go towards the institution. Okay, well, some of it towards the institution, some of it towards state houses. When you make things into half states, as it suggests, they only take up half of the governing capacity. Which means if I want to fully state everything, I'm going to need a lot more governing capacity. Now, there are a few ways to do that. For instance, I could go ahead and take something from the burghers, like land rights. That one's a little bit of a slight issue, considering just how much they already have. And the other method is through courthouses and state houses. I mean, there's this one too, but like, we're not gonna click that one. Okay, I think that's the last amount that we can convert. Religious unity went from like 10% and now it's at 85, which is not bad at all. Let's turn off stability. Let's swap that over to trade. Now I can pick up the Miltech, even though it's slightly more expensive than it has to be. Yeah, not really sure what to do at this point. We can save your economy, we can fix your army, we can fix the religion and the administration, but the one thing we cannot fix is the aggressive expansion. To put it bluntly, it would take 150 years to get anywhere close to fixing this. The other alternative would be to try and be friends with a couple of people. Some people might leave, which is good, and then the coalition loses enough support to continue existing. Now that is not a very easy thing to do. Okay, Morocco wants us to go to war with Aragon and Savoy. That's an interesting one. It does get Aragon out of the coalition by making a truce, but it might also kill us. Bit of a tough one. Screw it, sure. Well, still alive for now. I've been increasing the trust with my allies to try and make absolutely certain they'll help me if I get declared on. If the AI smells weakness, that's it for me. Well, I mean, so far so good. Well, there goes Savoy, which means they can't join the coalition. And Naples has been PU'd by Portugal. This has to be one of the weirdest timelines. Now, a surefire way to get someone out of your coalition is to bring them up to 50 relations with you. If Sweden will cooperate with me, please, we should see that in action. There we go, Sweden now has a threatened attitude towards us instead of outraged, and to remain in a coalition you need to have the outraged opinion. I think they should probably leave now. There we go. And ironically enough, we could actually go ahead and ally them because we're just that scary. From coalition to ally in about a month. Now, if only it was always that easy. So Aragon, Savoy, and Sweden are out of the coalition already. And Naples too, technically. Also, the economy has more than doubled since we started. I think by the time we're done coring, you could probably have it a total of tripled, but that would take a really long time. So I'm about to get the Navy going to contest the English Channel against Britain. So far, we're not actually doing that poor of a job, but to make sure that's done correctly, it's time to build a flagship. We're gonna make that a light ship with more trade power per fleet, as well as a monthly chance of skill gain and blockade impact. The fleet movement speed actually does not increase the amount of trade power you get. For a really long time I thought the same thing, but it's actually only admirals that do that. Right, well, now the Ottomans want us to fight Venice against Switzerland, Genoa, Savoy, and the Knights as well. You know what? I wouldn't even mind. Venice is also on that list in the coalition. I don't like those Commonwealth troops on my border. What are you guys doing here, That's right, walk away. That's what I thought. So how long has it been? Like 30 years? Still no coalition. Still hasn't fired. I'm starting to think coalitions aren't real. Maybe they're fake, like Finland. Now with that war over with, we have a couple fewer countries that can join the coalition. I mean, it's still big, right? But like, it's not as bad. You see, for instance, the relative strength of coalition used to be like 250, and now it's 170. If we can get that to below 70, then we're pretty much guaranteed to never be attacked. I mean, it's not like we're being attacked right now for some reason I literally can't explain, but theoretically, below 70 means they won't attack you. And Castilla's left. Why? Why did you leave? What happened? Okay. Now I'd say contesting Britain in the English Channel turned out to be a wonderful idea. Now we can make 70 ducats a month in the channel, while I think we started at around 20? So, a pretty good improvement, I'd say. Alright, there's the institution finally. We may have been like the last people on Earth to grab it, but that's okay. Now I have an extra merchant to drop in Wien. Okay, you know what? I don't really think I have to do much anymore. I think this save is pretty much done. And the reason I say that is because moving forward is pretty much just going to be the exact same thing that I could tell you in 3 sentences rather than doing myself. So, first of all, Coalition definitely still exists. Kind of weird. I have no idea why. It either should have declared on me or dissolved itself, and it has done neither in 30 years. I'm starting to wonder if I even understand coalitions at this point, but besides that fact, you should probably update and create a 3rd army. It's not that hard to just like, I don't know, add some infantry and artillery and make a 3rd one. Just keep on coring stuff as well. Your economy is quite simple by this point. It went from around 80 ducats and now it's 280 ducats. Just keep on building high value manufactories on stuff like the cloth here and the salt. You know how to do this probably. And it seems from here on out it's just going to be a whole lot of speed 5. I can't guarantee that you won't get declared on, but I think by this point it's pretty safe to say you could at least put up a fight. If you don't end up fighting a war against the coalition, you can probably wait until Denmark no longer hates you, and then you can try and do the same thing we did with Sweden, and I think you can do the same thing with Britain. I would probably recommend administrative ideas though for that governing capacity. It's been one of the hardest things to manage during this time, so having a little bit more is probably a good idea. Also, trade ideas, because trade plus quantity is a very nice modifier that will give you 20% goods produced. If you wanted more money for some reason, then that's a really good place to find it. Other than that, thank you very much for bringing this save in. It was a pleasure to have this much anxiety while not actually having anything happen. In the end though, everything's been fixed up, your religious unity is looking really good, your stability is great, your technology is... don't worry about that. And I think if you wanted to continue it, this run would have a bright future. Well, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learned a couple things here and there. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. Big thanks to the patrons. These people up on screen get early access to videos and also help to support the channel. The link is in the description. If you're looking for more content to watch, I'd recommend these videos up on screen.